How's it going, everybody? Fully Baked here. I'm a pretty big fan of R&B and funk music, and as of late, I'd say one of my favorite bands in that department would be Vulfpeck. Yes, Vulfpeck, not Wolfpack, Vulfpeck. I was confused as well, don't worry about it. There's a lot to like about these guys, from the iconic bandmates like Joe Dart, Theo Katzman, Jack Stratton, etc., to the awesome funky music, to their aesthetic. There's a lot to love about them. God, I feel like I'm a manager pitching these guys to a studio exec right now. But with the likeness of something, or at least in my case, usually comes with a ranking of some kind. I was initially going to do an album ranking, and while that's certainly a possibility, I decided to go with a much more conventional top 10 Vulfpeck songs to possibly get acquainted with talking about them first. The only technical rules for this list is that it's a favorites list, so the objective best won't be on here. Or maybe it will, it depends on how you see it. Also, it has to be made by Vulf specifically. Any solo songs by Cory Wong or Theo Katzman will not be on here. But I hope that's clear enough because I'm ready to get into the top 10 Vulfpeck songs. Grab your basses, shift into granny gear, and shoot up some adrenaline. Let's do this! I know people often say things to the effect of, you can't beat a classic, and for these guys, I would partially agree. I'm not going to go full hipster on you guys, but generally speaking, I prefer Vulf's older albums. I can't pinpoint why exactly, I guess I just prefer the sound. Either way, that's just my opinion. Anyway, here's a song off their latest album. Antoine Stanley saves the day. I really appreciate vibeability in music, and 3 on E is chock full of opportunity to vibe, with an overall light tone and a pretty happy bass line. 3 on E is a pretty simple song on a surface level, but digging deeper you'll find there's not too much. But there's still more than you'd expect going on. Expect that to be a running theme, if you will. 3 on E finds itself on this list mainly for how fun I think the song is. I said before I generally prefer older Vulf, and I guess it's fair to say this kind of recaptures that sound. The bass plays a huge part in this, being pretty straightforward until the final part of the song. Speaking of which, the ending of the song is easily the highlight. The added percussion, if that's what you want to call it, is great at emphasizing the groove, but it's the bass and vocals that shoot it up tenfold. Antoine Stanley is having a really good time with what feels like improvised vocals, which works really well in conveying the tone of the song. Joe Dart basically takes it and runs with it, but he still stays within the parameters of the piece. It's a great mix. So overall, 3 on E is a vibe of a song that I consider a kind of diamond in the rough on this album, which I kind of found weak. We're only just getting started, so let's get ready for some jams, baby. On the mostly other end of the spectrum, the reason I don't say the complete opposite is because the one trait these two songs share would be vibeability. But where that one is more upbeat and fast, this one is quite possibly the chillest song I've ever heard. No, I'm not kidding you, but what makes it that way? Well, we've got Antoine Stanley again, which is always a good thing. But what makes this song really chill would have to be the instrumentalists here. Mainly Theo Katzman on the drums. There aren't really any cymbal hits in the song. Well, there's occasional ride hits, but mainly low volume drum hits. They're super calming and feel super welcome to hear. As for the other instruments, the keys are also a great touch, being another lo-fi instrument that doesn't overplay its hand. The driving instrument here would be the bass, and even though it's probably the main instrument here, it doesn't feel like it overstays its welcome. Like everything else, it's really light, but here, it just takes up the most room in the song. Of course, that's with the exception of the vocals. Wait for the Moment is a song I can't describe much beyond lo-fi and chill, but what does there really say? It's a surprisingly satisfying jam that I'm not sick of yet. Are y'all ready for an objectively weak pick? Yeah, I bet you didn't expect this. That is, if you're a Vulf fan. If you're not, thanks for getting this far. What makes this song really work for me is, once again, the vibeability. I'm gonna stop saying that now, just assume that about every entry from here on in. What I particularly like about this song are the solos. They last entire verses and span across all 3 instruments. I'll go over them individually in order to keep things consistent. The piano solo is admittedly the weakest one here, but it's not bad. It just feels the most similar to the non-solo parts of the song, meaning while it does change itself up a bit, it overall feels like it could have been any other part of the song. My favorite part of this solo is definitely the part where Jack yells dance break in the middle of his solo. I thought that was pretty funny. The drums are where things really kick in, as each of the solo fills Theo takes here are great in their own way, and could really be seen through the lens of a solo or a fill. I like the drastic change, and the highlight here has got to be near the end of the solo when he skips beats, resulting in what sounds like Nate Smith at the MSG concert. The bass is another great addition, and honestly takes me by surprise whenever I listen to it. The drums and piano get a lot of leeway, but the bass is really consistent across the entire song. But in this final solo, Joe takes the song once again and messes around with the bass line in a really fun way. Also, if anyone rich is out there who wants to buy me something because I'm just so darn cute, buy me a bass that sounds like this one, because holy crap, the quantization is real. All joking and admitted filler aside, Adrienne and Adrianne is a fun time that I love listening to on repeat. Mainly because I just love trying to find the subtleties in the solos. Also, Jack, you're having too much fun with this song, you can stop now. I'm not a particularly big fan of pop rock. I'm not saying all songs have to be dark and brooding, of course, but the genre there just never really appealed to me. But put in the hands of Jack and the words of Theo, and you get something worth writing home about. I admittedly don't have a great deal to say about Animal Spirits. It's one of 3 conventional picks on this list. Animal Spirits isn't in a lot of people's good graces because it does anything particularly special, but it's here because it's a really good song. All of the elements here just kind of fit, and it results in what might be one of their most consistently good songs. The highlight here would have to be Theo's vocals, as they're fantastic. They complement the instrumentals and tone really well, that being, as I said, pop rock. It's honestly just a really lighthearted song, which is a pretty nice tonal shift from the other songs. Not to say they weren't happy as well, but I dare you to say they were as happy as this. While the overall highlight would be Theo's vocals, I have to give heavy props to the ending. I can't quite put a name to it, but there's just something about the vocal shift at the end that really resonates with me. And along with the change in instrumentals, it definitely makes it the song that I'd probably recommend to new Vulf fans. From here on in, history has its eyes on... From here on in, we'll be talking about the big boy songs. These are the ones that connect with me on a real personal level, so strap up and get ready for the real personal jams to begin. Thrill of the Arts is probably one of the most famous Vulf albums. If you're a Vulf fan, I can already tell what you're thinking, and that's that I'm gonna put Back Pocket on here. And you're right. It definitely lands a spot in the honorable mention segment. Hey Joey Dosick, it's been a while. Like I said before, this is where things get really good. If Animal Spirits is a popular song that lands itself on this list for generally being a really good song, Welcome to Vulf Records is an underrated song that lands itself on this list for being a really good song. The song separates itself into 3 main categories, with the opening admittedly being the weakest part to me, another common theme in Vulf songs. This is heavily due to the kind of break they have, and once it picks up again in the second part, things start to get really good. Vibeability really takes effect and kicks this song into the jam it was building itself up to be from the start. The ascending hits and the duality with the bass are really satisfying and are a huge part of why I love this song. In the final part, we've got the breakdown with Joey Dosick, who basically takes the song and runs with it. Classic Joey Dosick. The song switches to a much slower pace, which really works to bring the energy back down to close the piece out with the traditional Vulfpeck. There's no particular highlight for me on this one. It's a consistently great song throughout that I think goes heavily overlooked. Give this one a listen if you haven't already. Vulf is particularly good at using motifs. For example, the back pocket solo is used in both Mr. Finish Line and Business Casual. A lot of Joe Dart bass lines have similar structure, as do the drum lines. And at the end of the day, no matter the use, it's really up to you to pick your favorite. Yeah, about that... Go on, pick your favorite, because I can't do it. No, I'm serious here. I debated which one I wanted to put on here for so long that this is the only logical conclusion my mentally struggling brain could settle on at that point. Now, normally, Vulf fans would be screaming bloody murder at me for not just picking number 4, and while that's probably the objective best pick, these two just have something about them that work for me individually that I couldn't just pick which one was better. Starting with It Gets Funkier 2, this one gets in my good graces for generally being super lo-fi again, but this time with a focus on the awesome instrumentals. If Wait for the Moment was the quintessential soft Vulf song, this one takes the prize for its lowest of 5s. It's also got a healthy dose of vibeability, which I know I said I wouldn't bring it up again, but whatever, my list, my rules. Each of the solos and fills are great, and you'd be hard pressed to see me listening to this song and not bobbing my head. It Gets Funkier 3 is quite shorter than the second one, and overall I'd say it's not quite as good. But what this one has that the second one doesn't is one of my favorite bass solos by these guys. The compression is a huge part of this factor, making it sound like what I can only describe as a pool ball, if that makes any sense at all. Of course, with Joe Dart on the bass, you already know this thing is going to be great, but in this case, it reaches new heights of excellence for me. I seriously debated for so long which one I should put here, considering every single factor, to the point I even doubted if I liked these songs at all. So I figured a tie was the only way I was going to solve things around here. If you don't like it, I'm sorry, but too bad. Back when I was talking about Animal Spirits, I said it was one of 3 conventional songs on my list, and here's the second one. Fun fact, statistically speaking, 20% of the people on this track were named after said track. Cory Wong works mainly because of, you guessed it, Cory Wong's part of the song, in tandem with Jack's of course. Both leads combine together to form this great swing rhythm, and it really gives the first half of this song a minimalist feel. This is also due in part to the minimalism in the drums, bass, keys. There isn't much going on here. It's all pretty chill during that first half. The second half though, now that's where the secret sauce is kept. This song does something really novel and switches to a live performance halfway through the song, which is incredibly cool and actually works surprisingly well. Along with this live shift comes a definite upswing in tone, even though the tempo doesn't change. This is mainly in part to the drums, bass, and keys. Sound familiar at all? Yeah, despite the guitar taking the lead on this song, it's the backing instruments that really give the song its unique feel. The highlight here would be the bass guitar battle between Joe and Cory. For no real reason other than the instrumentation during this part is fantastic. You can hear people in the crowd cheer out Joe's name as he's doing his thing, so you know it's gotta be good. And I'm serious, the reason this section of the song is the highlight in my opinion is just because the exchanging parts between the two of them is great. Cory Wong is a great song, but we can't stick around for very long. Let's go to entry 3 and find out how many Vulf fans now hate me. I have to reveal my bias for this next entry. My favorite member of Vulf is Joe Dart. It's probably because I'm a bassist myself, but he's my favorite member of the band. With this in mind, take this next entry with a grain of salt. Skymall is a brilliant song, but mainly on the bass. Every other instrument here does a great job at conveying the very infomercial vibe the song has. This is mainly in the keys and the xylophone, which combine together to perfectly weave the sound. I'm not sure why Woody Goss is on guitar here, but you know, whatever. Theo Katzman does a consistently good job on the drums, and they all come together to make a fairly vibe-heavy song. Where things get top 3 levels of good is in the bass department. This was a song that solidified Joe Dart as my favorite member of the band, and one of my favorite bassists. All 3 of his solos/fills here are great in their own way, and they ramp up in complexity perfectly, leading to my personal favorite ending of a Vulf song. Joe goes absolutely nuts on the bass as the claps and bass drum almost struggle to keep up with him. Objectively, the song is really strong in one category and pretty good in others, but because of the attachment I have to the bass here and to the bass in general, it was at one point my favorite Vulf song before I really got into the band. It almost kind of upset me that the big song on this album is 1612 when you got this one laying right there. This is a short entry for a short song, but I honestly don't know what to say about the song other than praising the bass. Godspeed, Mr. Dart. I mean, was there ever any doubt it was gonna make it? No, to all Vulf fans, this is not the end of the video. You know how in that last entry I said the bass was really strong and everything else was pretty good? Take that and apply it to the sax here and you've got outro. It's very similar to Adrienne and Adrianne, that being it's a fairly repetitive chord structure, but here it's repeated 6 times instead of 4, and it's just overall better. I heavily appreciate this song's ability to make every single repetition of the structures feel different from the last, and every single instrument contributes to this. The sax and drums are most obvious contributors to this, but they all play a part in the uniqueness. This song is Joey Dosick at his absolute best. You can keep your running away as I'll always be the saxophone man. And of course, this song has got a healthy dose of vibeability just to keep it in my good graces. This song genuinely excels in every single category I can think of, and it's practically the perfect Vulf song. Amazing instrumentation, excellent tone, great feel, vibeability. There's really nothing this song doesn't do for me. And in my personal opinion, it's the objectively greatest song they've ever done. Because this is a favorites list, however, it means it's not my favorite song, so let's get into that. Also, if no one ever uses this song to outro a movie, there will be hell to pay. My favorite Vulf song lacks a lot of things I've praised the other songs for thus far. It has no vocals, no Joe Dart, and a relatively unfollowable structure. But what it lacks in those departments, it makes up for in being the song that I always find myself revisiting, banging my head the hardest to, and vibing with the hardest. Ladies and gentlemen, while writing the script for this, I made sure to bring up vibeability early because, in my opinion, this song is the epitome of that. The grooves are such a jam that they have 2 separate people playing on the drums when they play this. This song is Woody Goss at his peak, with my favorite use of delay in music, and it's almost tied with the Brighton rock solo from Queen. It makes every note feel that much more impactful, and it corroborates the fact that this is easily my most listened to Vulfpeck song. But where things get interesting with me is how this song connects on a personal level to me. In my best games of 2021 video, I said I had been dealing with a lot of anxiety recently, and that's true even now. But when times get tough and I can't catch a break, I often just feel the need to be on my own. I obviously bring myself out of this, but this song is prime time comfort for me. Whenever I need a break from reality in my own head, or I just need an escape, this is my go-to song. I also have to commend the tribute to one of the greatest pianists of all time, Richard T. This song is a blatant shout out to the point where Woody Goss actually used some parts of Richard T's songs, which is really fun. So, combined together with the excellent blossoming instrumentation from Woody Goss, the fun tribute to an amazing artist, and for how much it connects to me on a personal level, I think it's fair to say that Tea Time is my favorite Vulf song of all time. Thanks for watching, and I really hope their next album is better than Joy of Music. Yeah, no, I'm not trashing it, but just hope it's better. Have a good day, everyone. Play us out, Woody.
Burning up in the first half.
Great take. Great take.
Really nice take, dude. Great.
That was amazing.